You're listening to Spill the Sea with Ashwati Ramesh.
Hi, Mr. Avnish. So nice to see you after a while now. How have you been?
I'm doing good, and thanks. Great to see you again after a long time.
Thank you for coming on. Really excited to have you and talk to you about the decarbonization space.
Yes.
So, before we jump into the details, I just want to give a quick shout out to Copper and Cloves. We're basically using their lovely studio. They've
Yeah.
been kind enough to let us use this space for the podcast. Awesome. So, Mr. Avnish, before we, jump into the nitty-gritties of the space, would you like to give us a quick brief on what LivNSense does?
Absolutely. So really at LivNSense are looking forward to reduce carbon emission for the industrial sector by leveraging the technologies like artificial intelligence and digital twins. And our one of the key mission statement is to not only save the planet but also the humans on this planet, or human plus various kind of species here. And that's what is our eventual goal is.
Awesome. And I know you've been on the corporate side of things, Tech Mahindra, Wipro. You had a long and impressive career on
Yes.
that side. Um, can you tell us about your journey before founding
Yeah, no,
LivNSense?
definitely. So my journey in the corporate sector is quite long, almost more than 25 years I spent there. And half of my career was in telecom, because when I started my career, telecom was one of the upcoming and growing sector.
Yeah.
I had a lot of passion, and that's how I got into the telecom. Worked with giants like Motorola. That's where I had been fortunate enough to be in early stage of the technology curve,
Yeah.
or probably I'll call it. I had been one of the first few members of that company. Worked in India for the implementation of the cellular systems, or the GSM system, which that is the way the phone system is started, the mobile phone is started in
Right,
India.
right.
Definitely that is how I grew up. I went into Wipro, spent almost 15, close to 15 years there, and that's where I worked across multiple different technologies, from telecom to the product engineering. And I happened to touch upon some of the very early technologies there in Wipro, specifically working on Google TV. Probably that was my first exposure to Internet of Things at a very early stage, and that's what really hooked me into the whole IoT and AI at that point of time. And that is where, when I moved on from Wipro, I got an opportunity to work with Tech Mahindra to drive the industrial IoT,
Right.
working with some of the bigger companies, giants like GE to Cisco, etc. And that is the thing which I enjoyed at that time. But at the same time, I started thinking, what is the future of the industries going to be? And one thing I realized, the core is energy. And the energy is the one which is going to drive this entire industry, whether in terms of the fuel consumption, the gas consumption, going to the all the vehicles which is driven, the automobile is all on energy.
Yeah.
So somewhere I was thinking, like, I should do something in making sure that this energy can be preserved, can survive for long, because we have, this is one resource which is limited, which is not infinite, it's finite. And that is where my entire passion started, and pursuing how we can conserve this energy, how we can reduce the consumption of energy. And pretty much that was some of my motivation towards LivNSense, apart from the other factors which is from my childhood, which also I'll talk about it later.
Yes, please tell us, because my
Yeah.
next question was actually, how did you get into climate and industrial
So
decarbonization?
I have a very interesting, probably the movie to talk about it. I think we were all in childhood would have seen Kala Patthar, the great legend from Amitabh Bachchan, who acted in the movie. The whole story was about the mining safety, and
Right.
the entire the health and the ecosystem impact due to the mining, because coal mining was one of the prime mining at that time, even continues to be there till date in India. I, in my childhood, because my father worked in coal mines, I had an opportunity to see some of those aspects of that, those incident that happened. And probably that has got a very long lasting impact on my mind.
Yeah.
I always thought like, if mining is the need for the hour to provide the energy, because the coal was one, in India, even today, coal is one of the prime sources of energy.
Yeah.
What can be done to safeguard the workers? What can be done to safeguard the people working in those hazardous conditions? So that was definitely one of my core motivation, and that somehow was always there in my mind. I moved on to my career in the IT world, probably still it had been on back of mind. So when I got this opportunity of looking at energy, definitely the other aspect was how energy, safety, all could be combined together. We call it ESG now, but that time there's no ESG terminology. And the fact is, what we are trying to do is the energy, resources, water. We are trying to optimize everything which is finite in nature and make sure how it can survive for a long time and help human to exist on this planet. That's the whole idea.
Yes. And for the next question, which is a very interesting question specifically for you, how did you end up meeting your co-founder, who is also your wife, and decided to do this together?
Yeah. So the interesting part is I did my graduation from NIT Durgapur. And both of us happens to be from the same institution, though I didn't meet her there because she was 3 years junior to me. But when I was, my parents started looking for my marriage proposals, I was not really keen to get married, because that time I was traveling a lot, being in Motorola. And I said I was always trying to avoid. And I happened to see a proposal from someone from my college. And that created a curiosity at that time. I said, okay, let me meet and then we will figure it out. And that's how I met her in Calcutta, where she was living at that time. And we started seeing each other. That's how the whole thing happened. And she was, again, after graduating, she also joined Wipro. So we happened to be in Wipro together for quite some time. So that's the background of how we. So one of the key factors when I was choosing my co-founders, I wanted to make 3 things. One is like someone whom I know for quite some time. The second part is the friend and partner for the co-founding member should be trustworthy, reliable, and they can be in the journey, because it is not like a paid salary where you can. Sustaining is very important, and that's why I wanted to make sure that we can sustain together. And the third most important aspect, as I said, like our whole approach at that time was how to save human and planet. So we wanted to make sure we are all aligned to the same kind of goals. So coming from the similar region, at least the eastern part of India, all of the co-founders, the initial co-founders, we definitely had the same vision, same thought process, and probably we are ready to fight the long battle to sustain ourselves. And that's pretty much is where we are. So myself, Priyanka, our early co-founder, another employee called Ajat Sattu Singh, and before that we had one more co-founder, Rajan, who is now doing some other job, but we all were together in the journey to form this company and bring it to here.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yes.
Now to kind of switch gears, maybe talk about the market a little bit. So decarbonization is a global imperative right now, but industries, of course, have been notoriously slow to change, right? So how do you see this evolving, especially in heavy industries nowadays?
See, when we chose this industry, we were knowing that the industry was going to take its own time. It's quite slow in terms of adoption. The reason is, I'll put it more like the ability to take risk, because most of the key employees in specifically manufacturing, they are not so risk-taking people that you see in the other world, like the IT world, because any decision to change something which is running continuously or successfully for quite some time. Nobody wants to touch it. So that's what the whole core reason is why it is slow. But at the same time, see, the carbon market which is evolving today is a fundamental need for the hour. There are three needs we see. One is the energy is not going to be available at the same price, at the same quantity which is available in the past.
Yeah.
It is going to become very expensive resource. So finally, it is going to be one of your key cost element. And if you have to be profitable as a company, definitely you have to control this resource.
Yeah.
That's the one part of the thing. The second part is, I think there is an increased awareness across most of the governments and countries, and the regulations have been, I would say, coming up very fast. I can see India where still we are not like Europe, but one of the key thing I'm seeing is the adoption of some of the practices which is coming and the guideline which is coming. Specifically, SEBI has already enforced BRSR reporting for the top 1,000 companies. I recently, when last year in November, we had an event where I met BE team, which is Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and I understand that they are also coming up with a similar kind of policy for reducing the carbon intensity for the industrial sector, the heavy industry sector, and they've identified some 11 sectors as out of it, for which they are going to roll out probably by early this year a tracking mechanism, and by 2026 it is going to be really put into enforcement.
Right.
Maybe it could be as early as 25 this year itself.
Okay.
So I can see that the changes are coming from regulatory side as well. And the third and most important will be like one of the things which we foresee as an organization. If you are not having the ESG element into your corporate culture or in the corporate reporting, you may not be even considered for the future businesses.
Right.
So that's what will drive the industry. So it is going to be more of an enforcement to the need for the industry.
Right. And AI as well is obviously, everyone knows, gaining traction. Where do you see, or which areas do you see the actual potential to solve for challenges in industry?
Yeah, see, why we are bullish on AI for this part sector, specifically industrial decarbonization, is still there are too many unknowns when you are producing the things. While knowns are very clearly there, but unknowns are the one which creates the variability in the production, specifically on the energy to the process stabilization. And that is what is one of the key causes for the waste as well as for the emission. AI has the potential to identify those variation in advance. And few of the already reports which I have been seeing, because now a lot of research is happening in that, because earlier we saw most of the technologies focus were around green hydrogen, blue hydrogen to going to CCUS. But I can see now there's a big shift happening towards AI, because AI, you're not going to invest that much of CapEx and still you can do a great savings.
Yeah.
What we have done, our own analysis is, with AI, there is a good potential up to 32 to 35% of savings can be done in terms of the carbon reduction. And that is all achievable in terms of reduced energy consumption, energy optimization, even maximizing the uses of alternate forms of energy like waste as a fuel. And
Right.
that can be all done through AI. Overall, the market potential is close to $12.5 trillion based on one of the research report we have seen, because it is predicted that AI can reduce greenhouse gas emissions anywhere from 4 to 16%. And that's what the potential is. So definitely
Right.
the future is AI for this industrial decarbonization, and that will get adopted quite aggressively in next 3 to 5 years, in my view, the way I have been seeing the early indications of the customers.
Right. Okay, got it. And you also mentioned that you are working on digital twins. So could you explain the concept of digital twins and how it could be applied in the decarbonization?
So as we mentioned that we are tackling two parts of to get into the reduction of the end result of the carbon emission. The first part is the energy, which is fundamental, where we are trying to improve the efficiency, reduce the consumption wherever there are wastages. The third aspect is the process, which can be also efficiently managed, which is, we call it the process optimization. And digital twin is the best approach to provide that visual or virtual replica of entire process and see that where the gaps are there and how the optimization, because the technicians or the operators who are operating, they are not so well educated to understand so many technical terms and data to be processed.
Yeah.
They can take actions when they see something, and which we also call it as the future of human to machine collaboration. That is what we are doing it, because there's a lot of tacit knowledge that exists with the people or the operator. They are the ones who are actually most closer to the machines.
Yeah.
And you will not believe that most of these guys have become pretty old, because they have been working in industry for the last 25, 30 years or even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
They would be retiring soon.
Yeah.
The next generation who is coming, they are not going to make their hands dirtier like the previous generation.
Yeah.
So where this knowledge is going to be, so this knowledge is the vast data which is there in their minds, and we are trying to capture by making digital twin to become a co-pilot with the operators. And that's the whole approach we have taken. Maybe it is also called in future Industry 4.0 or whatsoever, but that's the collaboration between the humans and the machines.
So, Mr. Avnish, you guys have been focusing on transforming industries into Industry 5.0. How different is this from Industry 4.0, and how are you seeing this evolving?
Good. That's a good question. Let me just give you some background. It is more about the terminologies which is evolving. At the end of the day, Industry 4.0, what it was trying to do is to automate all the systems, the processes, and that was the whole objective. And to do that, the technology utilized was Internet of Things, which was basically connecting the sensors and the big data. Industry 5.0 is more talked about like it is going to have three things in the picture. One is now you have make the machines smarter, because that's what you did. You made the machines connected with the sensors, or machines can now send data to you. The second part is the human. Now, how do you make both of them to interact together? I talked about some form of digital twin.
Yes.
And the third aspect, which is most important, is now the ESG is coming as a third aspect, the sustainability aspect of the entire thing.
Yeah.
So how do you bring the sustainability as well into the industrial process and the automation side? So that's what it is, all Industry 5.0. It's just trying to bring everything together from not just the smart machines, but from smart machines to human collaboration, to making it more self-learning, so that tomorrow in future, the machines can identify the anomalies, they can take decisions.
Right.
And finally, it is all about while we are doing all these things, energy becomes one of the key element or key KPI in the whole thing. That's pretty much is all about.
Understood. And what about in India? How are you seeing AI play a role in India's journey towards?
See, India has been always, I would say, an innovator in AI, because India has got that potential, the resources and capability. The only thing is, most of the experiments we do in India, but the scaling happens somewhere. That's the typical paradox we have, because industries are ready to try out the pilots, but when it comes to scaling, because that's where the larger funds allocation are required, that doesn't happen, unfortunately, in India. But India, the way I see the market right now, I touched upon few sectors, specifically mining sector, because I see that slowly the mines are getting almost extinct out of Europe. US again is playing somewhere in between. India will become one of the key source of mining and resources. Definitely, that is one sector that is poised for a big adoption in the industrial decarbonization as well as in the safety space using AI. The second sector which I am seeing right now, where India has got a lot of potential, specifically in the infrastructure, the core infrastructure, the cities, the way we have been growing, and it has become too complex. Be
Right.
the safety of the people, to the tracking the carbon emission in public places, to managing and reducing the pollution we use, and knowing the current situation of Delhi.
Yeah, yeah.
It is becoming much more imperative that AI only can solve that.
Right.
So these are the few early sectors are there, but definitely we are quite positive, specifically on the entire transportation, the heavy mobility sector, because India has got a lot of emphasis on this transportation. The scope, though it is scope 3 part of it. The other few sectors which I really see the potential is cement, because cement is one of our second largest industry and highly polluting industry. So cement and metals are definitely the key industries which will adopt to this solution. It will slowly expand to others because we have enough opportunities. I can even give example. For example, agriculture, where I was not so much sure about the intervention, because I was thinking, where is the money? Then I was talking to a few people who have been there in agri-tech industry, specifically the sugar industry. And I realized the energy consumption and the potential to save cost of energy in sugar industry is huge.
Right.
So that is where the opportunity, and India brings that kind of industry to us.
Absolutely.
So we have massive applicability of AI. It's all about someone trying to do that, and others are going to follow it. That's what India market is.
Right. And what is the general awareness like? Because you are on ground and you see this. Are they ready to accept a solution such as a platform like GreenOps, which you'll provide?
There is a lot of interest. As I said, like the good part is to definitely in India the technology awareness is quite good. So
Right.
even I'm surprised, but I can tell you the team, the manufacturing guys, they are also very well versed with most of these technologies, because they are no more like what they used to be 5 years back. I've
Right.
seen their understanding of artificial intelligence, digital twins is pretty good. And today everyone knows that where the solution can be deployed, how effectively it can be utilized. It's only about the ability to get the change management, or
Right.
the change to be brought in, because even there is always a resistance whenever the new technology comes. People first of all get worried about their jobs, right? So that is what I think it's all about, the change, and I can see the changes are happening. There are sectors, in fact I can give few examples. We started last year in one completely new sector called warehouses, and we were not sure about it because one of the customer gave an opportunity in warehouses to us.
Right.
And I can see that in a very short span. Today we are having almost close to more than 7 factories where we are working on the warehouses, and there is a great demand for it. So it's all about like, it's once you get into it and you start showing the result in terms of the ROI, in terms of the improving the overall ESG and the carbon footprint,
Yeah.
you can see that the adoption starts automatically, and that's what we are seeing right now.
Understood. And going back to exactly what LivNSense does now, could you take us through the GreenOps platform and how that generally functions?
Sure, that's the technology part of it, and I will try to see as much as I can give the details. So, see, when we started GreenOps, it was almost more than 5 years back. At that time, we were, again going back to some of the terminology of Industry 4.0 and all, we were collecting the data from the sensors,
Right.
and trying to understand the data, trying to understand the variations, identify the anomalies, and created a more like a big data platform with various AI models for those specific industry to identify those energy variations and see that where the potential improvement can be done. That's how we started off. But as we went further deeper into it, we understood that energy is only the source of input which you can control up to a certain extent. That can give you almost like 20-25% improvement, because still energy is one of the key area to optimize. But then there's much bigger impact, which is where industries are suffering from. is the process side of the process efficiency. Because just to give you some examples, in cement industry, it is the impact of energy is only 40%. And absolutely, it is like in absolute numbers, it is 39%. And 69 to 70% comes from the process, because the controlling those processes are the very critical. And these processes are not easy, because the industries we are talking about, they are high heat industries. They start anywhere from 600 degrees to going up to 2000 degrees, depending upon the industries, from cement, steel and all. Now the challenge is the variations of even a small 1% or few percentage can lead to a significant energy wastages, and that is what the challenge is. So when it's a very delicate combination of energy at one end, the other side is your temperature or your heat, which is what you have to balance it. If the heating is more, you consume more energy. That's the fundamental. So we understood those factors, and we started thinking about how do we balance this whole energy and mass to a level that where we can have the most optimized production with optimized energy, reduce wastages, which is the ideal condition, we call it. And this is where we also started talking about the energy mass balance at those stage, and we started creating those fundamental models, AI models or AI algorithms that can understand those variations, that can identify the gap, and then it can start giving the recommendations in real time to the operator.
And these are all proprietary?
Yeah, that is where we got into, because we started learning from data. When we got engaged, we started learning these variations. We started learning one part of the learning, the domain, the fundamental physics of this entire thing. The second part was understanding the data more and more, and based on data, we started discovering a lot of unknowns. Because what happens today, everything is very streamlined. Everything is well built in an offline simulation and deployed. But when it is running, a plant is running, a manufacturing operations are happening, it is all dynamic. And the real-time dynamism, real-time variation is the one which we need to understand. And that is where the data plays a great role. And AI algorithms can identify those variations, understand the root causes, the traceability, and then try to figure it out what can be done to fix it. If we can fix it, it can really give it good. So that's how our technology product is built around. But definitely there are multiple elements to it. The first key part is to acquisition of data itself. The edge component, where we have spent a lot of time, because the data is one of the most notorious in this particular sector, because the data comes with noise, data comes with a lot of irregularities. There are not many times you don't have the access to those data which you need. So all this makes it very complex with multiple protocols, proprietary stuff. So first thing we focused on with our telecommunication background, that let's build a good platform that can have the capability to acquire all this data, bring to a unified format in the JSON format, where we can start working with the data, play around with the data. And that's how we started our journey. So the Vita has got the edge part of it, and then the core part where we do the real-time analysis with the algorithms, and then the big data part where we run our core domain algorithms, and finally the digital twins. So that's what constitutes our platform.
Understood. And you did talk a lot about data just now, safety, cybersecurity, all of these are big concerns.
Yes.
How are you maneuvering this?
So the security is always going to be there, because these are the very data which is sensitive for the customer. In certain sector, it becomes even more sensitive, specifically because of the data can disclose the certain IPs about it. For example, LivNSense customers, they will be much more worried, because for them, their product IPs can be also understood from this data. So definitely, when we work with the customers, we have taken various steps. One is when we build the product, we built with all kind of data protection mechanisms, starting from the data encryption, protecting at the data transmission while it is getting transmitted in real time by encrypting it end to end, making sure that we are taking care of the database security. We deployed various mechanisms to take care of our database security and any vulnerabilities. Then even the user side of the access, we have protected it fully using various mechanisms from OTP-based approach to various other approaches we are using where users are authenticated, and even we are identifying whether user are using intranet within the corporate network or outside the corporate network, and the privileges are totally different.
Right.
So many of the things we have already done. I would not say that and it is all done. It is a continuous evolvement.
Sure.
But at the same time, we are also making sure that we are complying to the standards. So we have been complied to ISO 27001, which is the continuous certification we do from cybersecurity. We have been evaluated by some of the large companies from US and Europe in terms of our data security process. And recently we have also completed the SOC 2 compliance. So that is also there. In addition to that, there is one area which is still definitely an area which is of interest, is the personal data protection, because what happens is we make uses of AI vision, the computer vision technology as well. And definitely that is where we are capturing a lot of videos and images apart from just the sensor data and the regular data. So that is one area which we are also now working on to make sure that there is no personal aspect is captured, specifically trying to make it completely anonymous kind of data by masking the personal aspect completely, because that is one area which I see is one of the growing concern as we move forward. And few of our customers, interestingly, we have been discussing is in few countries where they were very particular about if you want to use anything on the vision data, make sure there is no traceability on the personal side.
Right. Yeah, that I can see how that is a concern.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about customers and what they've been saying, what have been some of the other points of, or maybe challenging points that you've had to convince someone before adopting your platform and solution?
Yeah. Well, since as I said, like this is not an established market. It's a new market getting created. We call it as a new green market getting created. And now definitely this market is new, the technology is new, everything is new here. Because for customers, the biggest concern first is the viability of the product. Because how viable is it going to really give any gains to me? Is it going to add value? The question of the value is very important here. And any customer to win today, I believe in this market situation, is how do you first convince on the value? And I can give you examples here. I gave a very simple example about the how warehouses can become a big market today for the ESG sector in terms of safety and sustainability. Now, one of the key things there is what is the value you can deliver. That's very important. And when we got inside into it, we found basic things like materials lying around, certain materials not getting attended, the materials getting fallen down. Now, these are all wastages which is happening because either this is leading to the damages or leading to not being tracking your complete inventory, and it can also lead to not being able to account fully your inventory. And it can also create the other hazards in terms of the safety process and other things. So all this were the new KPIs today we started developing. We were not having these KPIs. Now, so as we are learning, so it's as I said, it's more like a co-learning space. As we are learning, we are also coming. It's not about the KPI for carbon emission is just monitoring the CO2. When we started, we were all thinking about it. Now from CO2 today we do SOx, NOx to CH4 to various kind of emission. But that's one part. The second part is what it goes into the air is the pollutant and all this various kind of gases. What it goes down is your waste, the hard waste. So that also needs to be accounted because that has to be recirculated or reheated to again make the product, which is a cost to the energy. So that is how it is all about. So the KPIs is going to evolve. It will come up with a much more final KPIs, while your top KPIs could be what is my overall CO2 emission or SOx or the CH4. But then it is also about I'm reducing my waste. I'm able to provide a much more secured and safer place for my workplace. That is how the entire ESG space is going to evolve.
Right. And I know you mentioned some of the industries also, but if you can summarize, which industries do you work with?
So right now we are working across 5 key verticals.
Okay.
Automotive was one we started in the beginning because that's where we started our product. In fact, GreenOps, before it was GreenOps, it was called LivNSense. We were into the reducing energy for the welding machines in the automotive weld shops.
Right.
And that's how we started our journey. So that's where automotive continues to be one of the area, though we don't work in more in the weld shop, but
Right.
we continue with some of the leading automobile companies. Then the second is our we call it the core infrastructure, which is comprises of cement, asphalt. Asphalt is mostly in US right now because that's where we are growing, and we are also getting having a good exposure to the metals because this all come into the core infrastructure, specifically metals like lightweight metals like aluminium. To the future, we are seeing the copper as well as zinc. All these are coming in demand. The other area is mining. Mining, as I already talked about, India, we see a very great interest for mining sector. And finally, our one of the core sector which we have where we grew because of that sector is oil and gas. So these are the sectors we are present as of today. Our platform is able to serve all these sectors. That's also gives us the confidence that we have created a common minimum platform or a minimum as an MVP, whatever you call it MVP, it should also cater to a set of these sectors with lesser and much less changes and customization. And that's pretty much we were achieved right now. Definitely, there's a lot of demand coming in transportation sector.
Okay.
We have been addressing in automobiles the heavy machineries market, the heavy mobility market as of now, which is construction, mining, to the warehouses I talked about. But one of the area which we are seeing for future growth is ports and logistics, which is also coming up. We have been in discussion in UAE with few of the large companies in the ports and logistics. And probably that could be our next segment we would like to get into it.
All right, very interesting. So, Mr. Avnish, which markets are you present in currently?
Right now, there are 3 markets where we're working. So definitely US is one of our key market. Apart from US, UAE is where we have recently, in the last 1 year, we have penetrated there. And we are seeing that as one of the very exciting market in terms of the carbon and the green future perspective. Very well connected with few of the people there, and we are seeing how to grow that market. India, anyway, we are here, so we are present.
Of course.
Apart from that, we have been trying some pursuits, and we have tried in past in Japan, Korea.
Right.
I'd say that we are yet to make an entry, but definitely it remains as part of our future roadmap. Same thing with Europe. We had been there in UK as well as in Germany and few other countries, and we are trying to see how we can make an entry there. So these are all like Europe, Japan, Korea probably will be our phase 2 expansion. Right now, our focus is US and UAE in particular, and maybe along with UAE, the GCC countries like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and few more countries. We are going to add it in our roadmap.
And just coming back to maybe on the infra side, industrial environments, they are generally more prone to operational inertia. How are you integrating seamlessly into such environments with your platform?
No, that's always a kind of a key transition from IT to OT, which has been there for years together, because IT OT has been always considered a challenge area in terms of integration. I see with the technology getting advanced, the things are becoming simpler. It is all about more than the technology, because technology is easy to integrate. It's all about the people working, because still I can just give example, like it's still difficult for IT team to go and make their hands dirty with the machines sitting in a factory and doing the work.
Yeah,
that is the biggest problem area is there. Nobody wants to do that. But somehow in our team, we have developed the culture where our team had gone to even mining areas, the underground mining like copper mines. We have gone thousands of feet deeper to understand, because without going and seeing those conditions, you can't. Even I
can't build
personally
for
have
it.
gone to the zinc mine, so I have gone to the zinc smelting. All these things we have seen because we have to go and see that, and that is probably it gives an interesting perspective, because when I have come from the IT world of being in the air conditioning room and all, but when you go to the factory, you see a totally different aspect of it, and I think it is important to understand that. I think that's where I say that it is nothing with the technology; it is more with people.
Right.
Because if you don't see and understand how these machines and the processes work, how you are going to bring it into the AI and you develop those algorithms? It is not possible, and that's what I keep telling my people, that before you start, understand the domain, and that's the hardest part. Still, I'm not saying that, because to make this guys coming from colleges and young guys, even they are mechanical, chemical engineers, but they have never gone and touched, and they have the feeling of this machine work, how they work.
Right,
so that's definitely a transition for us also. While we talk about the transition for the industry,
right.
And that's where we are trying to make our team learn. It is not about just they can be dependent on the consultant coming from the industrial sector, because then there is always a gap, because the domain guys, they know only domain, and our IT team or the R&D team only knows how to write Python coding and develop algorithms. It has to interact seamlessly. So even between human to human, there should be interaction, and we are not trying to pair up our teams with the domain consultant.
Amazing.
That is how we are trying to do that.
Awesome. And I know there are probably multiple challenges, but what are maybe the biggest concerns for you guys internally while building out for different customer segments?
Yeah, so one is internal, one is external, and I think what I see right now, this is a core deep tech. It is basically, there are three technology elements involved. One is the knowing the domain. Understanding the domain is very critical, because that's your understanding of the functionality. The other aspect is being a deep tech area, and a very complex deep tech. It's not like again, deep tech is very loosely connected term. Even financial guys also talk about deep tech. Here, the development to testing and getting the required accuracy also requires a very structured approach. This kind of development is not an easy one. And while India always has scored in the quality of people, the R&D and all, the challenge is about the current generation, which we are getting it. They are lacking a lot of the basic skills, and that's what we see, because what we need is very strong coding skills.
Right.
And we fundamentally go up, just Python alone is not enough here. So we code in C++, Java, and object-oriented programming. And I can tell you that my biggest challenge today is Python. It is all good. People can still do things. But moment it comes to C++, I don't see that even there is an interest to attempt it. And this is where the challenge I'm seeing for future.
Right.
Because this is all real-time systems, which has to build on some fundamental programming systems, which has to be object-oriented. And that is where I still see the challenge. And I think good part is we have a set of senior people to drive it, but then it is our endeavor to how to change the culture. How do we do that? We have recently, just to solve this, we have launched LivNSense incubator, where we are inviting all the freshers every weekend on Saturdays, and they come and they take a test, a kind of a mini hackathon. And based on that, we select people, and then we ask them to be with us for 3 months live project. If they perform well, then they come into our ecosystem of full-time employees or internship whatsoever.
Right. Very interesting.
So this is how I'm trying to solve, because we have to solve it. And I don't see it can be done just today by academies or the colleges, institutions alone. It has to be worked very closely with industries, the ecosystem start. And nobody is trying to solve this problem. Let me be very open. So that's one area which we are seeing. The second is definitely coming to the customer side. Now the customer are, as I said, like the customer come from their domain, they understand the functional thing very well.
Yeah.
They can look at the data and they can tell that, okay, this is not correct. For us to do the same thing, we need to be in their shoes, which is not easy. So here you need to really work and align your entire product with this customer base, because that's where the expansion can happen. Because many times, I'll talk about the third angle also, because this is related, the VCs and investors, because the VCs who are showing, they come with a lot of keen interest. But one thing I see that the VCs, they don't understand today the whole cycle of the deep tech. It is a long cycle, and they have to understand this is an R&D cycle that goes through the ups and downs, the hiccups, because every time when you go from a POC MVP to a pilot, you have achieved one stage. When you go from stage 2, the pilot, to the first level of scaling, it is the second stage. And then you have gone to the first stage of scaling to a mass scale. This is how the cycle is, and every cycle has its time. And we can't change that time. Here, you can't have a monthly changes happening.
Yeah.
You have to build a fundamentally strong product that can impact generations to come.
Yes.
That is what the whole concept of this deep tech is. So this is the 3 elements we have to manage as a single founder, or the bunch of founders. We are a couple of members managing the employees part, because we have to deliver the best in class technical outcome. That's how managing all complexities. The second part is the customers, who is well versed. They know what they want. They don't want to compromise on the linear approach of having things. They want to see my system is working 100% perfect, and when you deploy this should be able to predict every time correctly. But AI is not about you'll get 100% accuracy in the first pass. It will gradually improve. It will learn through data. You need to have a patience. So again, it takes time. And the customers, they don't want to, even there are customers, I don't want to get into the names, but they don't want to pay for it, because they don't think I have got the value out of it. So this is where the other side of the challenge is.
Yes,
and
it's
the
definitely
third,
challenging.
And third aspect is we need funds to drive this to the next level, where there has to be a very patient approach of the patience required from the investors to see that there is a trust in the technology and the product to deliver the outcome. So all the 3 are a success criteria to make a product successful, and that's what we have learned in the, because it's no more like the very first few years of our journey. We have spent more than 5 years, 6 now, and we are going to complete very soon the 7th year in our journey. We have understood that how the product evolves through multiple stages, and we can now today I can also see with a very clear demarcation that where we are going. When if you ask me the same question 2 years back, we were doing mostly a very early stage of MVP to pilot scale. Today I can see my customers where the demand is, where we can scale, and how big is the opportunity. Probably the eyes which I can see, not everyone can see. So that is what I'm seeing. The market is potentially big, and anyone who can succeed with the ambition, with the perseverance required, and with the innovation, all together, bringing together to, and then at the same time they should have the right team. It is a market to go after. There's no other market than this, I can tell you. This is going to be the biggest market, going to survive for next decades to hundreds of years. Once you create this product, maybe it takes another 10 years to get to a scale where we want to achieve, but I can see. And this is what I am feeling, and today we are seeing those early trends. Few examples I can give. We are having discussions with few of the strategic customers who are telling me, and they are asking me, why your projection is only showing $100 million. I want to see a $1 billion projection, because that's the potential of your product is. And I was telling how I'm still not comfortable making to the $1 billion, because I'm not able to see that. But then looks like the customers who are able to understand our product better, they can see the massive scale we can go, even not 100, it is $1 billion. And that's what the potential is. And we need to start thinking in that way. So in last couple of days, because of one customer, I have to start rethinking in my whole strategy that this 100 has to become 1 billion.
Right, right.
And that is what the change I'm trying to bring in within ourselves, because that's how we can succeed.
So, Mr. Avnish, could you maybe give us one example where you have helped a client in terms of efficiency and beyond just emissions data also, because obviously these clients, a lot of them, it needs to make economical sense for them, right?
No, definitely, and that's what we do it because I don't think as I said earlier, the carbon emission without an ROI doesn't make most sense here. So let me just give example for the asphalt plant which we are working in US. When we did our phase 1 of our asphalt plants, we were focused on to reducing the cost by optimizing the energy. That's how it started. That created a lot of interest with our customer, and then they came up with more problem statement because that's their real problem statement. So here, one of the key things customer talked about is the waste, because what happens is the material which is not meeting the quality outcome, it is called as waste. They don't actually, there's anything really goes into waste, but what happens, it has to get into recycling and reheating process, which is an expensive one because it again requires the gas to be consumed and reheating to be done so that it can meet the required standard quality norms.
Yeah.
Now this is a big issue because it is almost like 3% is today is the waste, and more waste, as I said, like even you can see an increase in the emission part also because the lighter particle is still going to the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So here, there was a direct proposition for us where we could have reduced the CO2 emission as well as the waste, and that is what we worked on. In fact, we identified the materials, input materials, understanding the materials properties to the moisture content so that we can understand how much moisture is there so that we can predict in advance the temperature at which the drum cell has to be set, and so that the drying can be done more efficiently and all the moisture can be removed so that the end product is meeting the quality standards. So this is one just simple example, but this has got so much of impact on the customers, specifically from a bottom line perspective. So this is one example. Similar examples we have done in the other sectors like cement industry, where we had seen the challenge of uses of alternate fuel. But alternate fuel, again, there is so much of variation is there in the waste fuel because of the fuel, the waste coming from the various different kind of agri to animal waste to the chemical waste and all, and getting combined and used as a waste as a fuel in the cement plant. Now there, the biggest challenge is about understanding the calorific value, how much calorific value is there, and without that it can't be, you can't optimize the energy, you can't optimize the overall process. And that is what we have been doing, because that's one of the key need for the industry in terms of reducing the coal and increasing the alternate fuel. And this is a direct saving again, because you reduce the coal, you reduce the cost of energy.
Yes.
And alternate fuel gives you at least an opportunity to start using those waste as a fuel. And today, people are ready to pay for utilizing the waste. If you can utilize the waste, they are ready to pay you as well.
Right, right.
So yeah, there's a few examples.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And what is in store for LivNSense in the next few years?
Lot to be done still. As I said, we have entered a completely new market, as I call it, as a green market, which is evolving and which is very early stage of evolving. And this is the future. It is going to become a big, large market, which is going to sustain for next couple of decades to 100+ years. And that is where the evolution is going to happen. One, in terms of our technology, what we call it an IT stack, which is going to evolve with more technologies. AI vision is one which we started adopting, and in fact today only we were having one of the calls with a company that specializes in using AI vision to do a lot of the analysis using the cameras, from thermal cameras to the AI cameras, to identify the flame width, gases, and predict and monitor and predict the furnaces operations, the kiln operations. And we were excited, and now we are collaborating with this company to utilize all this data, because till now we were using a lot of the sensor data,
Right.
and our vision data was mostly what we can see physically, not going inside the furnaces and utilizing those, because this can change the future in terms of providing a complete 3D dimensional, a visual dimensional, or digital twins to see where there can be more heating is happening, what can be done in terms of energy and fuel reduction, and it can really help industry going forward. So this is one area. The second area which I see, definitely the new technologies like green hydrogen, blue hydrogen will be adopted in future, and we will have an opportunity to integrate those as well with our AI technology.
Right.
And that is what we have been interacting with few customers and trying to understand how this is being utilized and where is an opportunity space for us. So yeah, definitely a lot to be done. And again, this is just the start.
Yeah.
I think it is going to be a journey where it is going to evolve a lot many new things is going to come in. That's pretty much I want to put it across right now.
Amazing. And maybe to end the discussion on a lighter note, I know you've done this transition from corporate world to the founder life. How are you managing this chaotic founder life?
It's not an easy life. We all know that startup is no more. When we started, it all started as a Bollywood dream, but it is no more Bollywood, no more the life which definitely it requires personal sacrifice at all front, and not just personal, even the financial sacrifices as well.
Yeah.
You have to change. I feel that the change has been good for me. It has helped me to become a better human being than what I used to be in the corporate life, because corporate life we are all looking at position, the ranks, and the money part of it. Probably I am now out of all these things.
Yeah.
And this has given me to think something different. Since I talked about mass energy balance, that is giving me to do something else for my hobby, which I never did. I'm reading a lot about the universe. I'm trying to understand the Big Bang theory from fundamentals. And I'm
Right.
trying to now see that it's probably the Big Bang theory may not be correct. It is something which is there, and energy is behind, the God is behind it. So I'm trying not to
Right.
get too much into the Vishnu Puran and
Yeah.
trying to figure it out how our Hindu mythology is related to it. So finally, it is for me, energy mass balance is all about everything which is moving today has an energy behind it,
Right.
and depending upon your mass. So pretty much that's what I'm doing in real life, and I'm trying to also learn from our probably ancestors who have had a great knowledge about the
Yes,
universe,
probably
and
known way more than-
maybe somewhere both should integrate together. And I'm trying to figure, is there any learnings from past which we can bring it in our
Yes.
AI model techniques? Maybe we can create more of our mythological AI models which can help to improve
Yes.
this emissions and reduce this the carbon footprint eventually. So that's pretty much is what. So yeah, you have to find out something for yourself in summary,
Yeah.
to enjoy your life, because otherwise founder life becomes very lonely and a lot of struggle. So something
Yes.
is required also to keep your brain towards other things. That's what I'll try to give an advice to every budding founders. Keep yourself engaged, whatever you like, whatever
Yeah.
interest you develop. Sometimes you develop new interest over a period of time. That's pretty much.
Amazing. No, this was such a great conversation, Mr. Avnish. Very, very informative. I learned a lot. Thank you so much again for coming on, and I wish you and the team very good luck.
Thank you, Asiti, and really great again catching up with you. Thanks for organizing this podcast. Lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in today. See you next episode.